And in our top business story, the UAE is benefiting from the strong US dollar, and the UAE dirham's peg to the dollar has been very helpful to the economy, according to Central Bank Chief Mubarak Al-Mansouri. The head of the central bank also made it clear that the UAE's peg was here to stay, and when asked whether the dollar's strength might hurt the UAE's export competitiveness because of the peg, Al-Mansouri was quoted in local reports as saying that the UAE mainly exports to neighbouring countries whose currencies are linked to the dollar, noting also that most of the UAE's investments were dollar-denominated. The UAE aviation sector is said to be the busiest air corridor in the world by 2020, with 170 million passengers expected to pass through the country's airports over the next 5 years. These forecasts were made by aviation research organisation CAPA, and according to their latest research, the UAE aviation sector will witness strong growth over the next 5 years, as passenger traffic is poised to jump by nearly 70%, making the UAE the biggest aviation hub in the world. Passenger traffic is expected to jump from over 101 million last year to 170 million per annum by 2020. According to the aviation think tank, UAE airports have been expanding their capacities to accommodate the growing inflow of passengers due to the strong expansion of local UAE carriers, including Emirates, Fly Dubai, Air Arabia and Etihad Airways. CAPA stated that while Dubai International handled a record 70.5 million passengers last year to become the largest airport by international passengers worldwide, Dubai's two airports, Dubai International and Al Maktoum International Airport, will be able to handle between 98.5 million to 103.5 million passengers by 2020. The forecast also suggested that Abu Dhabi, with just under 20 million passengers passing through the airport last year, will grow at the fastest pace of all UAE airports, expanding 50% over the next 3 years to reach 30 million per annum by 2017 and 40 million by 2020. CAPA also noted that Sharjah rode high on the back of low-cost carrier Air Arabia, receiving 9.5 million in 2014, an increase of over 12% year-on-year. The Dubai Islamic Bank, at the conclusion of its annual general meeting, announced that it has approved the distribution of a 40% cash dividend for 2014, a 60% increase from the previous year. Dubai Islamic Bank also officially signed off on its 2014 financial statements, reporting a net profit of 2.8 billion dirhams, which is a significant increase of 63% when compared to 1.70 billion dirhams in 2013. Gross revenue increased 20% to 6.3 billion dirhams, while the bank's net operating revenue increased to 5.6 billion dirhams, a 32% increase from the previous year, which the bank attributed to the growth in its core business. Customer deposits at Dubai Islamic Bank were also up by 17% to 92.3 billion dirhams at the end of 2014, from 79 billion dirhams at the end of 2013. Net operating profit before impairment stood at 3.52 billion dirhams, which was up by 38%, with the bank's healthy financial position also reiterated by Fitch Ratings, which recently reaffirmed the bank's long-term issuer default rating at A, with a stable outlook. Illustrating growing international interest in the brand, Dubai Islamic Bank raised its foreign ownership limit to 25% last year, following which the bank scrip was also chosen to be included in the MSCI basket when the UAE was upgraded to emerging market status. Du has announced the successful introduction of the first LTE advanced live network in the UAE, making it the first telecom operator with a Cat6 ready LTE network in the UAE. According to a statement by the company, the introduction further reiterates the UAE's global standing as a front-runner in the development of advanced network infrastructure and marks an important step closer to 5G technology. The launch of the LTE carrier aggregation capability allows Du to offer its customers mobile broadband speeds up to 225 megabytes per second, which will enhance its customers' user experience in terms of upload or download speeds, particularly with audio and video streaming. More importantly, the new capability targets the significant increase in the average user throughput, in addition to the superior coverage, and also paves the way for more leading smartphone manufacturers to commercially launch an expanded range of the latest LTE Cat6 smartphone handsets in the UAE. In August last year, Du announced VoLTE had been successfully installed and tested over its commercial LTE network and demonstrated VoLTE calls during GITEX 2014, with its commercial launch expected in Q2 this year.